Today, I've got one of Sydney Uni's favourite sons, former Super Rugby player, former Curry Cup player, former Mitre Cup player, and former Sydney Uni great, Dave McDuling. Thanks for joining us, Dools.
Hogga, thanks for having us. I've been eagerly awaiting throughout this lockdown period my invitation, counting down the weeks. It's glad it's taken 12 weeks to get asked, but that's all good.
Mate, firstly, huge shout out to KPMG for letting us borrow you for 5 or 10 minutes. I know how precious your time is there.
Yeah, I think look, it just shows, my work outfit. I got my uni vest on a work day in my little home office. So always find time for the club.
Went over to the Reds when we were playing together when you're a bit younger. You got a contract over there, and then from there you ended up in South Africa, in New Zealand, and then back in Australia as well. Let's just talk about your career for a little moment.
Jumped a little bit all over the place. Obviously, got through time at uni in the early days, got noticed by the Reds and went up there when they were riding on cloud nine. It was an awesome experience just being around them at the height of their powers. Ewan McKenzie was coaching, and Quaid and the likes were sort of at the peak of their powers. Didn't manage to got very close to just maybe getting 5 minutes on the field in that 2011 campaign, which would have been great to say I was a Super Rugby winner, but had some pretty good locks in front of me there. And then, I guess ended up being at the Reds for 5 years, but just had a really horrific run of knee injury. Saw the highs and lows of professional rugby. They won it in my first year there, and then were always there or thereabouts for a couple of years after that. And then Ewan went on his way, and the Richard Graham era was not as fruitful, and then really kind of saw the downside of professional sport when things start to get, the pressure really comes on and you start to see divisions in the group and divisions between players and head office and all that kind of stuff. So that was pretty fascinating to be a part of. And then, as you mentioned, jumped around a little bit after that, got a chance to go over to South Africa with the Sharks, which probably not a lot of people know, but my dad actually is from Durban, and the Sharks were sort of my team growing up, and live in Africa for a couple of years, which was outstanding. And then, again, sort of came full circle and got a chance after that to come back to Sydney to the Tars via Canterbury. So got to play for some pretty special teams, and then ended up back at the Students in 2018, 2019, capped off a couple of premierships, which was a great way for me to sort of come full circle and have some success there at the end with a younger generation.
You're probably more qualified than anyone to talk about the difference between professional rugby in Australia, South Africa, and New Zealand. Is there a
Australia and New Zealand are both more a bit kind of collegiate atmospheres, where it's very much, players have buy-in, and the coaches, like in some teams I was in, the coach gets called by his nickname, and it's very matey, and he might say, this is the strategy this weekend, and the players can stand up and say, well, no, I think we should do this. South Africa was very much, they called the coach, and he was the boss, and it was very, it was very much sort of, the pressure over there just seemed a lot higher. They have very big squads. Rugby is a massive deal over there, and it's a way out for a lot of people that have come from some pretty tough backgrounds. So I found that kind of internal competition a bit harder there, whereas back home you kind of left that on the training field. That's not to say it was an amazing experience over there. Loved it. Yeah. Made some great friends, and then found the difference between New Zealand and Australia is just I found in the short time I was at a pretty special team at Canterbury there, coached by Scott Robinson, who's now won 3 Super Rugby titles in the trot, so he knows what he's doing.
I mean, it's pretty amazing having, for you to be part of that Reds group and then that Canterbury group, and then, come back with that experience back to uni. And I know you and I came through Colts together, and we played a little bit of footy early on, and we had a great time. No doubt about that. But what was it that brought you back in 2018 and 2019 to finish off your career at the Students?
I'd always kind of, I loved my first sort of stint at uni, and it always felt, part of the club, even since I left, felt a strong connection to it. And The nature of professional rugby is, you know, as you know as well, like it's a fantastic thing to get paid to play the game you love, but at the same time, if you're not sort of, I wasn't getting these sort of long-term kind of security from it. It was very much, oh, here's a cool opportunity, I'll go and do that. Or here's another cool opportunity, 12 months here, 18 months there, that kind of thing. And I was just getting to a stage in my life where I had one eye on my next career, even though I was still fit and healthy. You know, I was, you know, about to get married. I've got a young daughter now as well. So it was just a stage in my life where I thought, I think I actually, and I had just been at the Tars and I was so stoked to be back in Sydney, and the thought of leaving Sydney again just didn't quite appeal to me when I knew I had this great club on my doorstep where I could still get the rugby enjoyment but not have to uproot my life. So that's what I decided to do, and yeah, no regrets at all.
Been a part of a pretty special group there. What about Rob Taylor as a coach? How does he stack up against some of the coaches you've come up with?
Oh yeah, I think. Well, so I was speaking about the Kiwis with their rugby IQ. He's his next level. He's right up there in terms of rugby IQ and passion for the game and knowledge of the game. I think I was from when I first arrived. I think I knew he'd had this great record with the Colts, but we actually, and I think we both benefited from each other in the sense that we had kind of different views on the game. I was very much, we've got this young team. I hadn't been around a lot, so I probably should have just shut up and played. But we've got this good team. We're making lots of errors. Why are we playing what I perceived to be high risk? I'm like, this isn't traditional uni rugby. We've got a great forward pack. Why aren't we, you know, kicking for the corners and grinding teams out? And we'll just let the young backs kind of grow into it slowly. And he just kept pushing them, kept pushing their skills, and training looked a bit sort of chaotic. I was like, where's the structure? But, you know, the proof was in the pudding, and Rob, I think he valued sort of my opinion. But at the same time, I think, you know, his view, and, you know, it's been well shown over the last 2 years, it's not high risk footy if you're practicing it every day and getting better and better and better. And that philosophy of, which was actually very similar to what I experienced at Canterbury. It must be a bit of a Kiwi thing. It's not necessarily about having the best game plan and the fittest and the strongest, which I think we had anyway. But if you actually just have, you know, 15 guys or 23 guys that are each week becoming better rugby players, better passers, better catchers, better decision makers, that can actually just mold together a great team. And then you don't need an overly structured game plan at all, because you've got guys that are getting better every week. And
probably had 10, 12 preseasons back to back. And now you're probably going through your arguably hardest preseason at the moment as a stay-at-home dad, stay-at-home student, and stay-at-home KPMG or whatever that is. But, mate, how are things at home? How is this going for you? This must be a little different for a preseason.
I'd say it's definitely probably more challenging.
To clarify as well, this is a preseason, as in you will be playing this year. So it's like it's sort of
you put me up there. You were trying. That was a bit of reverse psychology from you, Hogga. No, look, I think the combination of working from home, studying from home, and being a new dad is not necessarily conducive to a physical preparation for a shoot shield season. I can tell you that. The dad bod is, need to keep an eye on that over the next few months. But mate, it's been, I think there's a silver line to everything. Obviously, quarantine and lockdown's been, you know, hard for everyone, and would have loved to have been down at number 2 to watch the boys, and I'm sure the boys, you know, have been itching to play. But the flip side for me, and I think for a lot of guys that I've spoken to in similar situations to me, is we've probably been at home for early days of our kids' lives, like more than, you know, traditionally most dads would ever have over the first couple of years, let alone months. So it's been pretty special, but plenty of distractions, and, you know, new meaning to time management, I think, has been.
You will always be welcome back at the students, mate, whether it's for a beer or a training session to work on that dad board, mate. Don't be a stranger. You definitely pop down and say good day.
I definitely will. And I've been speaking to Nick DeCrepney, and he's gone and bought some 21 studs and wants me to come down and show him how to push in a scrum and be a lock. Enjoy that.
Thanks, mate, and thanks for coming on.
Thanks, mate. We'll see you throughout the year. All the best.